quite interested in learning. You learn every day, so I'm quite interested to be part of this class today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Malara. It's so great to have you here with us. Anyone else want to introduce? And Gbadebo, I see that you're here. Would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Okay, good morning. I'm still on the move. I'm not settled yet. Is it okay if I just do it as an audio?
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Oluwaseyi Gbadebo. I'm the founder and creative director of Concave Designs, an Afro-urban concrete, sustainable concrete furniture brand here in Nigeria. Yeah, so it's a pleasure for me to be here. I look forward to always learning, so I love learning. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gbadebo. So anyone else before we proceed?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I can't do video either. Okay.
No worries.
Hi everyone. My name is Ife Ajagbe, the head of operations for Symphonic West Africa. And I'm excited to be here because it's more in me, of course. I know I'll learn something.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ife, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. All right, thank you. Tosin, I see that you also introduced yourself, but via chat. So I'm hoping everyone can read that. But anyways, no worries. So we'll still get to interact as the class progresses. So thank you so much for the introduction so far. So I always like to kick off with one of my favorite quotes ever. And it says, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you do things differently, right? And that actually rings true. You can spend so long building your personal brand. You can spend so long building your business brand, but one controversy can come in and totally change public perception about you and your business. And when that happens, it can actually impact profitability, right? So of course, I believe we've all been, keeping abreast of the news. We've heard about the controversy, with Diddy and Cassie, and how, Diddy has built this really great personal brand over the years. And then this controversy has come, and suddenly, business partners are, recalling like business deals. Howard University that gave him an honorary degree has taken it back and returned the money that he donated to them. And right now, nobody wants to be associated with him, right? And it's so sad because this is a personal brand that he's built over the years. And because of, bad crisis management, I would say, that reputation is in the mud. We also know about Will Smith and how, during the Oscars, unfortunately, he slapped Chris Rock. And although everyone has moved on, everyone has forgiven him, it still, has affected public perception about him. I was watching the news the other day, I think Entertainment Tonight, and they were talking about the box office numbers for the latest Bad Boys movie, and they were saying that, so far it's not as high as the previous franchises, right? And, I remember one of the guests on the show was saying that it probably was, it's due to like COVID, and how even post-COVID, not a lot of people are going to the theater as before. A lot of people prefer to stream. But I found something really interesting. One of the other co-hosts said, well, even though we're all over the Oscars slap, Will Smith is no longer seen as like the fun-loving, positive, joyful person that we all thought he was. And possibly that could have affected the number of people that actually went out to see the movie. So I thought that was so interesting. So anyway, just putting that in perspective regarding this quote about how it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to actually ruin it. And this is why studying personal branding and how it can affect our reputation and our businesses is actually quite important. All right. So about me, I'm sure most of you know who I am, but for the benefit of those that do not, so as you know, my name is Moremi Elekwachi. I'm a marketing communications and PR consultant. Communication is my passion. I live and breathe communication. So it's more than just what I do for a living. It's actually my passion, right? And this is why I'm always so excited to share my knowledge, especially with business owners, because as a business owner myself, I do understand the challenges of standing out in crowded marketplaces, especially now in the digital age where the digital landscape is so overcrowded with everybody trying to sell something. So it's my passion, and sharing knowledge about what I know and my experience is also a passion of mine. So I have a bachelor's degree in journalism from the University of Georgia. I also have a master's in marketing communications from the University of Southern California. So I've worked internationally for a while, but of course I've lived in Nigeria for ages, like 13 years now, or 14. I lost count. So I'm the principal consultant at Euphoric PR, where we create memorable PR and marketing campaigns for industries, like eclectic industries, from technology to entertainment to NGO, corporate governance, etc. So we have a very wide and eclectic portfolio. And this is an advantage for me because whenever I'm giving advice to business owners or even people climbing up the career ladder about how best to market themselves or their businesses, I'm able to relate with a lot of people across the board because my knowledge is quite eclectic. So this year I founded Moremi Consulting, right? Separate from Euphoric PR. And this is because, I always do a lot of online listening, right? And, in the midst of the economic challenges in Nigeria, I would, just see, you can just tell from comments on social media to even what people are writing about and talking about in the news. It's just pretty much about the challenge, especially for small and medium businesses, the challenge of dwindling profits. And despite those dwindling profits, still looking for cost-effective ways to market and promote businesses, like their businesses and even themselves, right? And so realizing that not everyone can afford, public relations, not everyone can afford to hire like a PR agency or a marketing agency. You do need to have a little bit of, a considerable budget to do that. So my team and I thought, why not, organize, programs for SMEs, like, master classes, mentorship, etc., at a cost-effective rate, just so even though, the PR company is not like implementing directly for them, if they don't have the budget for that, well, at least they will be equipped with the knowledge that they need to actually carry out publicity and marketing on their own, right? And so this is how this series of master classes, came about. This is how the idea came about. So yeah, and we're just looking to add as much value as we can to small and medium enterprises across Nigeria. So some organizations I've worked with really quickly, Google, Coke Studio Africa, Keystone Bank, and a host of others. Also, some personal brands that I've worked with that you may be familiar with include DJ Copy, Davido, Banky W, Lara Rawa, and a host of others, right? So working with personal brands is a big passion of mine as well, because I've always been fascinated with how, you know, just by virtue of someone's reputation, their businesses or projects can be impacted. So it's one of my core competencies. So enough about me. Let's get right into it. So what exactly is a brand, right? I know that term is often used very loosely. So today I'm just going to explain, like, in the most basic way, what a brand is. So before we talk about personal branding, and even before we talk about personal branding for business success, I believe it is important to first understand what exactly a brand is. And again, during the course of the masterclass, if you have questions at any point, just let me know. I'll be happy to, explain further. So what exactly is your brand? So in the plainest, like, most basic way, your brand is actually your reputation. That's the short answer of what a brand is. It is your reputation or your business's reputation. So it's pretty much what people think and feel, like when they hear your name or when they see your logo or use a product. So it's the overall impression and image that people have of you, right? So your brand is pretty much your reputation. What do people think about you, right? When they see something about you in the news or an ad, how do they feel, right? It's pretty much your reputation. And how well you manage your brand is just all about reputation management. So obviously, if somebody has a good reputation, people trust you. You become trustworthy. Similarly, when your business has a good reputation, people trust the business. If you don't trust the business, you cannot patronize the business, right? And this is why branding is so important. So one major mistake that I've seen a lot of startups make is when they talk about brand, the first thing they start talking about is, oh, my logo, my brand colors, my this. That is not the most important thing. Yeah, yes, it is important, but the most important thing actually is pretty much deciding, okay, what are my values as far as my business values? What kind of impact do I want to bring to my customers or clients? And how can I translate these values into ways people can see and understand, right? So your brand starts with your values and then building upon those values to create a good reputation. So we'll get more into that as we progress. So pretty much just think about your brand as your reputation. It's pretty much your reputation. So I'll give a couple of examples. So for instance, even if you're not a car lover or a car expert, it is general knowledge for the most part that when you think about Toyota, like Toyota cars, we all see how people talk about Toyota cars. Oh, they're reliable. Oh, they're durable, they're valuable. Oh, if you want to buy a used car, just buy a Toyota, they're strong. No matter how much people have used it in the past, if you buy it and use it, like it's going to last you for years. with minimal like maintenance issues, right? As long as you service it properly, right? So they have a reputation for making long-lasting cars, and this has built that reputation of dependability, right? So these are their brand values. They want to be seen, or they are seen as a dependable brand, right? And how do they express being a dependable brand? It's by manufacturing cars that are reliable and durable and that give good value for money. So this is the brand identity of Toyota, right? So now that that brand identity has been established, then you can now introduce, okay, this is the logo, right? This is the kind of logo I want to associate with this brand, so that every time somebody sees the logo, these brand values of reliability, durability, value come to mind, right? So do you see how branding, yes, the logo is important, but the branding has to start with a set of values. What are your values? What do you stand for? What are your business values? What does your business stand for? And how can you now translate that into a visual brand identity that when people see it, they remember your brand promise, right? So I'm giving examples of company brands right now, just so we can get a basic understanding of what branding is before we now transition to the area of personal branding, right? Similarly with Apple, like when you see someone using an Apple product, I don't know about you, Sha, but me, I automatically think, oh, this person must be, a very high-end kind of person. This person has like, good taste. This person is creative. This person is technologically savvy. Apple users are pretty much seen as the cool kids, right? So this technologically innovative product or brand value is something Apple set out to do from the beginning, right? They wanted to be seen as high-end, they wanted to be seen as innovative. And they fulfill that brand promise, of course, by creating products in line with that brand vision that they have, right? And so, this logo, apart from the fact that it stands out, whenever you look at it or whenever anyone says Apple, like visually you think, okay, this is the Steve Jobs Apple, and you kind of, ascribe that to it being high-end, etc., right? I know a lot of people who, even if, they have the last 500K, or is it 1 million or 2 million in their account, they would, and they had a chance to choose between buying an iPhone or maybe buying a car. Some of them would just choose an iPhone because, okay, they need their phone. So that's brand loyalty right there, but we'll go more into this later. So pretty much, as I mentioned, a brand is pretty much your reputation, right? Your brand values. What do you stand for, and what does your business stand for? Are there any questions so far? Okay. So now that we have a basic understanding of what branding is, let's go into personal branding. So what exactly is personal branding? In this age of social media, I feel like personal branding, like the term personal branding, has really been like watered down because a lot of people don't really know what exactly it is, right? People have kind of, will I say, watered down personal branding to just meaning, oh, the kinds of pictures you take on Instagram and how you post on Instagram, how you look and all that. while it is a component of it, it's not a major component, right? So what exactly is this personal branding that we're always talking about? Well, personal branding is pretty much similar to how companies create their brand, but it applies to individuals. So it's really all about how you present yourself and the reputation you build in the eyes of others, right? So your personal brand is pretty much a collection of your values and how you express those values to the public. So for instance, just a very, very basic example, like it's not enough to say, oh, so-and-so is a good person. It's not enough for someone to say, for instance, if I'm saying to myself, oh, I'm a good person, I know I'm a good person, and everybody else should know that. Well, how would they know that? That knowledge is private until you make it public, right? So the process by which you let others know that you're a good person is that process of personal branding. It is your values, what you stand for in your industry, in your sector, what sets you apart, that unique knowledge that you have that nobody else has. How do you express that to the public? This is what the process of personal branding is. You cannot say you have a personal brand if nobody knows exactly what your values are and what you stand for in the public space. If it's just you that knows or just your family that knows, then you have not even started building a personal brand. So the personal brand is personal branding. So branding is like a verb, right? So it's that process by which those brand values that you have become public. So it's essentially a combination of your skills, your experiences, and the personality that you want others to see. How do you want people to perceive you? What kind of reputation do you want to have? When someone mentions your name in rooms, even when you're not there, what do you want them to say? Right? How do you want your reputation viewed? So personal branding is pretty much reputation building and reputation management on a public scale. So I'll give you an example. So when we think of Elon Musk, right, we know that he's this technologically savvy guy. A lot of people think he's crazy, but he's this person who is, who believes unequivocally in the power of technology. He believes that any and everything is possible with technology, and he's a very smart person, right? So everyone who knows Elon Musk, if you know about him, you know that about him, right? And one thing about Elon Musk is he always frequently publicly shares his opinions about technology. Even when people come for him, like he still will express whatever he thinks and feels. He's a boundary breaker. He's a risk taker, especially when it comes to technology, right? And he's incredibly smart. So everyone who knows Elon Musk knows that, he has really ambitious projects like, the Tesla, which is the electric car, then the SpaceX project, all that, right? So he's always breaking records in technology, and he has the personality to back it up, right? So people know, okay, he's a risk taker and everything, but if we invest in these companies, our money is safe. Because even when the stock market is fluctuating, we know that even if his stocks decline for a while, it'll bounce back because he always has the next great idea, right? So I'll give you an example again. So when he acquired Twitter, he came up with this idea that verification marks should be sold. They should be for sale. And when he first said that, a lot of people thought he was crazy, right? Okay. People were like, okay, why would you sell like verification badges? The real celebrities wouldn't be happy about it. And of course, nobody will pay. Nobody wants to pay for verification. That was the general, public opinion. But when he introduced it, guess what? People started buying the verification badges, and even now, I think Instagram has adopted that, right? So this is another example that shows he's a boundary breaker, he's a risk taker, and although people thought like Twitter would totally crash when he takes over the company because he is a bit erratic, I mean, Twitter is still doing very well. It may not be some people's cup of tea, but it shows investors that, okay, no matter what, right, Elon is someone that can be trusted with investments, with innovations, etc. Right? And he's always very vocal about his choices. So his personal brand automatically rubs off on his businesses. And people have now come to trust both him and his businesses, mostly by virtue of the fact that he has made public his expertise, his genius, his values. Personally, I think that Tesla's progress and SpaceX's progress will not have been this amplified if Elon Musk, as the founder and CEO, was not such a vocal and boundary-breaking personality. So we can see how his values, his personal brand, rubs off on his businesses, which in turn generates public trust in his own target audience. It's not everybody that will like him or his businesses, but for his target audience, he has managed to use his personal brand as a very, very powerful tool, to build trust in his businesses rather, right? So this is an example of how, you can actually use your personal brand to impact public perception about your business and also profitability. All right. So I want us to do a little exercise right now. So can we all just take a moment to just analyze your business brand? And when I say business brand, it doesn't mean like, okay, you need to have the biggest and most known business in your niche, right? But just, do an assessment of your business brand, where it is now, right? Do that assessment in relation to your current personal brand. So in what ways does your business brand values actually align with your personal brand? And in what ways are you publicly expressing this alignment in a way that promotes your business? And in what ways do you think you can improve on this? So I want us to do this exercise together. Is anyone willing to be the first volunteer? Anyone at all?
I think I'd like to go.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Please go ahead.
So in what ways do they currently align? So my business is my brand name is Sugarlax Biodress. That's for my business, yes. And I think it reflects more of who I am. So if you go on Instagram and you check Wax Biodress, you can see that it is pretty minimalistic, it is chic, and it doesn't just like it wasn't created to cater to everybody. It was just meant for like the select that pertains to me as a person as well. So it's very clean. I'm very, very heavy on clean. it has to be clean. It has to be, I just don't like all this maximalist type of, situation. I don't like something that is rowdy. I mean, it's a business, you want to get customers, but at the end of the day, you have to like carve out a niche, know who your target audiences are, and there are people that I would like to relate with every day, right? There are people that I have as friends. I know the type of class. I don't know if this is something that I should have even like you know pitched into my business, but there is a class system when it comes to who's buying the product, right? Who's shopping from the brand, who's following the brand, right? So it has to be people who sort of reflect the type of person that I am on a regular day. So yeah, I think that's the way that they align. I mean, people see the page now and they're like, yes, this is your page. Definitely is your page. Like it just sort of like reflects who you are as a person. So I mean, it's very thrilling. And in a way that, well, as I said, it's for a selected number of people. It's people who believe in a certain, outlook when it comes to life. And I think that's really what helps the business thrive. So when you come to the page or, somebody refers you, there's a certain way people relate to the brand and relate with the brand, right? So, I mean, if you're a rowdy crowd and you stumble upon the page, the first thing you're thinking is, oh, okay, well, these people might be expensive, which honestly isn't true, right? But it just has that outlook. So, the rowdy crowd would not fit in, but the crowd that takes it easy, sees a different outlook, sees that there's no rush for anything, blah blah blah, they sort of like thrive better. They appreciate the brand better, they appreciate the products better. And also because if you purchase from my brand, you're pushed to read. So for our usage, when it comes to using the products or whatever, right? So it's really for a class system and a system of people who read, people who are like, savvy and all of that. So I think that way sort of like promotes the. And in what ways can you improve on this? Well, I'm thinking in about 2 to 3 years, we are able to cater to more people that sort of fall within the niche and sort of like, adopt a lot more people into the niche, because I'm not myopic enough to say, oh, these are the only set of people that I want, right? If a regular person comes to the brand and we're pushing them to read certain information and understand and comprehend, they're all the better for it. So this is something that's important, right? So yeah.
That's really awesome. Thank you, Aramide. Do you mind can you spell that handle again so I can pull it up?
Wax by Audrey, that's WAX BYAUDREYS.
Okay. Wax by Audrey. Okay. Fresh Sugar Wax Company, Lagos. Vegan, elite, paraben free. I see. Okay, great. This is very interesting. Waxing, although common, is still not so common in Nigeria. So this is actually a very unique business concept. And would you mind giving me your personal handle as well?
Okay, so it's Bada, BADA_Aramide.
Okay. So trying to pull that up. All right. Can you see my screen? Can everyone see my? Okay. So this is your personal brand page. And okay, so this is your personal brand aesthetics. Okay. Okay. I see what you mean about the aesthetics. So let me go to your business page. Okay. All right. So I think that you are right about the aesthetics as far as it fitting, your personality, as well as, driving that message that is for a certain kind of, crowd. And you're doing great so far. One thing that I would actually say, like, beyond the aesthetics, is pretty much narrowing down more regarding what problem that the brand is looking to solve. So I see, like, with the waxing, people's skin is smoother, it's toxic free, it's vegan, it's cruelty free, which is really great. But I would say to take it one step further in relation to your personal brand is expressing the why about what you're doing, right? It would have been good to kind of see more of you doing some educational, relatable posts about why this sort of, sugar waxing, etc., is kinder, like, to the body, right?
On my page?
Yes, on your page. So as a personal brand,
Okay.
yes, like as part of your personal brand, right? So for instance, are you saying you care about the environment, you care about beauty in a safe way, right? Safe beauty, that is a niche. Organic beauty, beauty that has no side effects, because we have heard about beauty products made for women that actually, like, disrupt, like, the endocrine system. Like, a lot of these products, they cause hormonal imbalances, for instance, which can affect fertility, which can affect all kinds of things. So it is beyond saying, okay, this is for a particular class of person, this niche. It's now like selling more of the why, and why you are an advocate of these values, right? So
Yeah.
creating content still within the same brand aesthetics, right? But pretty much being that voice for safe beauty, safe and ethical beauty in Nigeria. I don't think we have, like, a vocal voice in that space yet. We have a lot of them in the US and in the Western world, where there's safe beauty founders who are constantly, advocating for more safe beauty. But that is a niche in Nigeria that, beyond the products that you're offering, if you can also find ways to let your personal brand reflect that, right? You're actually going to raise more awareness about yourself and your business, and also drive more traffic to your business indirectly, and also to yourself. So before you know it, you're being invited to conferences about beauty, about sustainability, about the environment, and about all of that. So that actually also influences brand perception. So it differentiates you from other beauty entrepreneurs in Nigeria, right? Like, okay, yes, a lot of people are into beauty, but this is my niche. These are my values, and this is how they are reflected in both myself and my business. So it's now taking that, one step further to further shape reputation about you and your business, and using that as an indirect way to sell your business, if that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does. The only problem is I'm not a social media person at all. Literally, like, I don't know, I don't want to. These photos are only there because I've been pushed to post them, right? So I understand what you're saying about personal branding, and it's something that I've tried to, like, push myself to stop, because usually I just do some I don't know what to call it, post or whatever on my stories where I talk about certain things, and I see that a lot of people show really good interest. However, continuity is not my thing, because I don't like social media and I don't like being out there, which is why I feel like at the beginning of my business, before I then handed it over to other people to deal with. It was really interesting and relatable because I was genuinely interested in starting it as a business and making it more educative for everybody in Nigeria, especially when it comes to body hair care. But personally, that's a lot of hard work, but I will try. I think it's about time. I'm really thrilled that I'm here. I think it's about time I put more effort into personally doing these things. I want to see how well it goes.
Okay, no worries. Thank you so much for raising that. And I will say that what you have expressed is probably what a lot of us in this class, including myself, struggle with, from time to time. And that is the fact that, we want to promote ourselves, we want to promote our businesses, but we also do want to draw that fine line between being on social media all the time, oversharing, etc. Right? So that is why, it might be good to just see it as like a business function, like taking yourself out of it and saying, okay, I have to do this for my business. Like, who can I assign that task? Like, even if it's somebody, at your business, at your company, or a friend or something. So you just have your marketing plan for the month and say, okay, I need to do 10 or 8 thought leadership videos, right? And then you can have a situation where, you have someone taking the video, maybe you're doing the 10 videos in one day, like shooting them, you have your different outfits, you've created your content for 2 months, because then you'll be posting maybe 1 video per week or something. So that's just a tip to kind of make it less intimidating and less, time consuming, but okay. All right, thank you so much, Aramide, for sharing. Is there anyone else? Yes. Is there anyone else that would like to share regarding that as well? And remember, I said that I really want this class to be as interactive as possible because, we're all learning from each other. And I actually just learned something from Aramide now, specifically around, her business and that industry. So would anyone else like to?
Can I just share something? It's quite interesting listening to Aramide and also listening to you. I started my business sure about 20 years ago. But I know that the deliberate thing I didn't want, I didn't want to be known. I don't know if that's a crime. I just wanted my business to be known. I wanted to live, a quiet life and have my, just do my own thing. And over the years, that's been what has happened. But I've kind of realized that there has to be a balance, you know. I was telling someone before this meeting that I am on Instagram every day, but my Instagram page is nothing to write home about because I don't think I've ever made a conscious effort to do anything about it. I really don't like writing on Instagram. I think when it comes to marketing and all these things, I'm really, really terrible at it. So when you talk about, whether your business and your personal brand, they merge, I would even say no. I don't even know whether I even have I kind of have a business brand. People feel that people feel we're affordable, they feel we're creative and trustworthy. I would say that's our business brand. A personal brand, I'm not sure if I don't know if I have one. I would love to have one, but I'm not sure if I personally have a personal brand. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for sharing, Malara. And I will say that everybody has, I would say, a private personal brand, if that makes sense, right? We all have those values that we stand for. We all have, so for instance, you mentioned that as far as your business brand, what I'm hearing is affordable luxury, right? Because the weddings business, the events business, you know, in Lagos and in Nigeria can get quite extravagant, right? So the concept of affordable luxury in event planning, trust me, is a very sellable one. So it now actually reflects your values in a sense that probably you want to, like, for every bride, their wedding day is one of the biggest ever events of their lives, right? And because of your values, your business values, you know, it actually does reflect on your personal brand because you are personally invested in making sure brides get the wedding of their dreams, but they don't have to break the bank for it. Do you see what I mean? You don't have to choose between, oh, do I want a nice, memorable wedding and do I want to buy a house? Do you see what I mean? So affordable luxury, whether it's weddings, whether it's events, is creating memories that last, creating unforgettable memories, creating classy experiences within a budget that is reasonable, right? And that can be actually tied to your personal brand as far as knowing the importance of these memories, but also now, especially now in this economic downturn, like saying you don't have to break the bank. So if
Yeah.
you know that you can find a way, we can find a way to properly amplify that brand message and have you as the person advocating for that for your business, trust me, like your sales will skyrocket. You know?
Okay, thank you. You made it. Yeah, you got me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries, you're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to
Yes,
chime-
ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Let me look at the first question. In what ways do they align currently? Okay, for me, I think for a while I have been positioning myself as someone that likes to uh, guide artists on how not to make mistakes because I've 9 and in my experience, artists sometimes just shoot themselves in the foot. They come to the radio station with songs that have explicit words, and I don't want to go through the hassle of beeping out those words for you. So the most likely thing is that if I don't feel you're so important for my playlist, I would like, why not do that work yourself and just bring me a radio edit? I mean, in those days, you walked with your 2 legs into the radio station with a CD. That means you got that from a producer that could have edited this for you or giving you a radio edit. It's just standard practice. Even the biggest artists do it. They have radio edits of their songs. In fact, for video, some of them have TV edits of their songs. So why can't you just do it? So, a lot of little things. Sometimes the artwork on the CD does not even look appealing at all. So say I have a pile of CDs, I don't even want to listen. I just say, okay, let me use my church mind and listen to, because I love music. So let me just listen. And then you discover that sometimes their songs are actually amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why would you hide something like this on a picture that is not beautiful at all? So, a few years ago, maybe less than 5 years, that I started, making videos. The videos were not great. I was just looking shabby at first, but I just thought, when you go from anger to pity, and then you say, you know what, these people just need to know. So I made a list of all of these things, and then started to talk to increase the chances of actually getting radio airplay. It's not everybody that will charge you money, but I mean, the people that are not charging you money are actually harder to please because they don't want to play songs that their listeners will not like. So that means that you need to just get the song right. production should be on point and all of that. So I don't bother this class with all of the details of that because I know like it's not everybody that is a music connoisseur. So, but that has actually gotten me to where I am today. And in what ways do I publicly express this alignment in a way that promotes my business? So currently, I'm still on radio. I'm still a breakfast show host on Kennis FM, but also I'm the head of operations for Symphonic in West Africa. So Symphonic is a digital music distribution service. Basically, we get songs from the artists to streaming stores so that you can open Spotify or open Apple Music or Shazam a song and find it. So that's what we do. So we get the artist songs from them to stores where you can find them. So that's basically the summary of what we do. And I then realized that my experience with artist development, because all of the things I have been talking about is basically artist development. So my experience with artist development has helped me build a fan base, a connection with artists, some level of trust, where they know that Ife is talking in our own interests. So if I say, come and use Symphonic, they trust Ife because they know that it's because Ife is sure that Symphonic is the best for us. So it's not just, so for them, when I say, come and subscribe to Symphonic, it's not just marketing. It's not like, oh, Ife just wants, who just wants us to buy, basically. Yes, of course you would buy in, but it's something that I'm sure will be valuable to you. So in what ways can you improve on this? More videos. So basically what I have done is what you suggested to every other person. I have actually gone to a studio and shot nicer videos than the ones I started with in the early days of my video shooting careers. And I've shot like 13 videos. So what I was trying to decide was, should I post weekly or should I post monthly? So that it takes time before I go to the studio again. So I'm not sure yet. But the last one I posted was sometime in May. I've not posted another one because that one surprisingly went super viral. And it seems to be doing well. It has over 2,000 shares. I've never had a video do that before.
Wow.
As in over 1,000 saves and everything. So, and that is, I've not even sponsored it. So people keep sharing on a daily basis, and it's a call for entry for songs on radio. So it's is a show that Symphonic actually powers. So just you don't even have to be a client of Symphonic to send in your song for us to play it on radio, and it's absolutely free. So I see that on a daily basis. We have over 1,000 emails to sort through. We are taking them one after the other, so everybody will wait. But on a daily basis, I realize that people keep sharing. People share to their stories, people share. And so I feel like if that video is still doing well, there's no reason for me to like push another one out for now until maybe I see an ebb in the performance of the video. Then maybe I'll post the next video that I have shared. So that's it basically.
Wow, that's very fantastic, Ife. Thank you so much for that contribution. And I want to illustrate a couple of things based off of what Ife had said. So that will probably segue, let me see, into the next segment, which is understanding your brand, right? Perfect. So before you can even embark on a personal branding journey, talk less of a personal branding journey that will positively impact your business, right? You need to understand your brand first. And this comes with a lot of self-reflection. It's not about just waking up one day and, posting on social media or putting your stories in the newspaper without any direction or going on TV shows, radio shows, no. So there are some pivotal things that Ife has said that go into actually understanding your brand, which is the foundation for personal branding development. First of all, identifying core values, right? So this first point states, what are your business values and how are you aligning them with your core values? So I'm going to swap that around, right? Just for easier understanding. So in the first case, let's say she's asked herself, what are my core values as an individual, right? Maybe start with that. So her core values, as far as her business, her career, is that, first of all, it started with identifying a pain point of her target audience, which is music artists. She recognized that these people had great songs, but the way they presented their music and themselves wasn't great, wasn't ideal. At first, it's something that irritated her, but then that irritation turned to empathy. Like, okay, it's not like these people are doing this thing intentionally. They actually do need help. So from realizing that these people needed help, she now developed a passion or, an intention to help them, right? And this is where this business of artist development flourished, right? So the business was started not just because, oh, I want to create a business and make money. No. She has that true passion to help artists be the best versions of themselves so that they can get more listeners, right? And more listeners over time translates to more revenue for them, right? So this was her actual personal belief and passion, right? Which was now infused into her career as not just a music broadcaster or a radio broadcaster, but also as a professional A&R, artist and repertoire, artist development, and all that, right? So you can see how, those values of, okay, this is music, these are the musicians, but how can I make them be better seen in the world? How can I connect them with their target audience, that is the listeners, more easily? In what ways can I help them improve the way they present themselves to their listeners, to their audience, to their fan base, right? So by virtue of the fact that she discovered these core values within her, right, it was a no-brainer that her business would actually feed off of those core values, and branding-wise, they walk hand in hand. This is like the perfect illustration, right? This is the perfect illustration of this idea of first identifying your core values, right? Because her personal values are being reflected in her business values. How is she expressing that, right? Publicly, to build that personal brand. It's showing up in the best way in the public space. And where is her target audience predominantly? In the age of social media and digital media, they are predominantly online. How best can she reach them? With her educational videos, online outreach, etc. So she's building her personal brand and her business brand hand in hand. And you heard that she mentioned that now she has built that brand to the point where people trust her opinion, right? She's an influencer in her niche, in her industry, to where if she recommends something that is music related, music service related, she's amassed so many fans and so many people who rely on her for advice that will move their careers forward, that whatever she says, they take it. So that is where each and every one of us should be targeting to go, myself included, as far as aligning our personal brand with our business brand. This is like the perfect marriage of the two. So I'll give another example for the benefit of Aramide and Molara as far as what I just spoke about, right? So Aramide has a very niche beauty product, and she's targeting a very niche audience, right? So sugar waxing is an organic and safe way of, hair removal, right? And it's not just hair removal, but it's hair removal in a kind way that doesn't have toxic ingredients. It doesn't leave unfriendly residue on the skin. It doesn't leave skin reactions. It is like a vegan beauty product, right? And she's already doing well as far as expressing that personal brand and personal brand and business brand online. But like I mentioned to her, just like Ife has done, it's now taking that a step further and saying, I want to be known as an authority in this field, right? How best can I position myself as that thought leader to the point where in the beauty sector, when it comes to all things vegan, all things organic, all things kind, people can think of me, I can be the go-to person as an authority. And how can I amass a following that will trust me in every situation that has to do with their beauty needs, right? When you now amass that trust, you know, and your personal brand is surrounded by that, it rubs off on your business brand. And ultimately, that amplifies your business profits. That increases sales for you. And this, more than ever, is very important in this era. People are tired of being sold things. Like, we're all here, we're all on social media, but you're trying to like maybe say happy birthday to a friend, then an ad pops up. Oh, come and buy this, do that. There are too many ads already. There's so many ads. So which one are we going to look at, right? There are ads for days. I'm not saying you shouldn't play sponsored ads. That is a good strategy. But that building an authentic personal brand that goes hand in hand with your business, I would say it's looking like the best kept secret, especially in this part of the world. Amassing that following through your personal values that align with your business values is like the #1 sales tool that nobody's teaching. Well, I guess that's why we're here. And just one more example to illustrate this. So Molara has mentioned, you know, being a wedding planner and an event planner, wedding planner, and offering affordable luxury, which is a very, very strong, value proposition, right? Additionally, something else that she's done, which I don't know if I'm free to share on the call, but she did tell me before the call, is that she released a book, right? And I think the book has to do with questions that you should be asking before you say I do. So I think this is a wonderful thing because as an event planner and with one of her main niches being weddings, her writing such a book already expresses that she's not just a wedding planner or event planner just because she wants to make money. No, she actually does care about the bride, and the bride's life, even transcending the events that you want to plan with her. This is already a very core value, caring about the health of married couples. Before you say I do, what are some things that you need to do? So this is something that can align perfectly with her business as a wedding planner because she becomes known as, oh, she's not just, okay, we have other popular wedding planners, etc. But this emotional storytelling, this her why behind doing what she wants to do might be a determining factor to why a bride might choose her to actually, organize her wedding over others. In addition to the fact that she offers affordable luxury. So if I have 10 different wedding planners, oh, who do I choose? I choose Molara first because she's giving me affordable luxury. And then she has this personal brand positioning of someone who is passionate about, life after the wedding or even life before the wedding. This is where emotional storytelling comes in. And if leveraged properly, she can actually use this as an indirect tool to actually impact her business and sales. But it will not be overnight. It might take a couple of months, but that consistently showing up in your truth, having your personal brand align with the business brand over time, you will reap the rewards, just like Ife is doing at the moment, right? So this now leads me to the second point, right? About how to really, really set the foundation for building your brand. What is your unique selling proposition? Like I mentioned, and like we all know, the both online or offline or the marketplace is crowded everywhere. Everybody's shouting, come and buy, you know. Everyone wants patronage, right? So as a consumer, if I'm looking at this sea of offerings and service providers, product providers, what is going to move me about your personal brand that will make me want to choose your business over others? What's your edge? What stands out about you in your industry and your niche? How can you amplify that? So Molara's edge is affordable luxury, right? Of which, if you've ever planned a wedding or any other kind of event in Lagos, you know that it's almost the price of building a house or renting a house for like 5 years. So that affordable luxury already sets her apart. It's now finding the right avenues to broadcast that message, right? And for her to use that in her personal branding, right? So discovering your unique selling proposition. And also, before you embark on your personal branding journey, you should also do a personal SWOT analysis. So I know SWOT analysis is traditionally used for businesses, but it's actually very important to do a personal SWOT analysis before you embark on your personal branding journey, right? So ask yourself, what do you do well? You know, what are things that you do well as a personal brand that will make you and your business stand out? What makes you different from the rest? Where can you improve? What trends can you take advantage of, right? As business owners, it is very important for us to constantly keep up with trends, right? Because technology is moving at such a fast pace. Consumer opinions and consumer preferences change almost on like a monthly basis. There's always a new trend over there, right? What trends can you actually take advantage of? And then what are the challenges? What are other people in your field, you know, competitors? What are some things that they're doing that could be threats? So you need to do a personal reflection about this, carefully consider all of these three elements before now plotting your personal branding strategy. So you need to understand your brand. And I always tell clients this. I'm actually not a fan of that statement that says, fake it till you make it. It's actually terrible, especially when it comes to branding. You know, we have this trend of, oh, just package, you know, just run them, just package, make it look like you have it, even if you don't have it, right? When it comes to personal branding, that is like career suicide because you can't keep up a lie forever. For instance, if you're not the fashionista type and you're forming, oh, you know, you want to use fashion as a way to drive attention to yourself, but you're not really a fashionista. So you're renting clothes, you're renting wigs, you're doing all this to create content. You will burn out because it's not you. Before long, you will just dump the whole thing, right? So personal branding is not about packaging in that sense. It is about recognizing your core values, embracing your strengths, and using that as an avenue to amplify who you are so that people can recognize your values and also that can rub off on your business. It's not about packaging, right? You want a brand presence that will linger on forever, even when the trends have died. Something that is authentic, right? So yes, self-reflection as far as understanding your brand is the first step to building your personal brand. So after you have done your self-reflection, you've identified your core values, you've discovered your unique selling proposition, you've actually done your personal SWOT analysis as well. It's now time to start the process of building your brand, right? All right. So one of the main processes of branding is really standing out and having that unique voice. So the first thing you should do is actually maybe craft your brand voice. And what do I mean by that, right? What kind of voice do you want people to remember as far as brand essence? So I'll give you some examples, right? So Elon Musk's brand voice, right, is different from a Mark Zuckerberg personal brand voice. So we all know that Elon Musk, like he says things that are kind of brash, like he has this "I said what I said" brand voice, right? So for instance, I don't know if you guys remember, but when he took over Twitter and he was firing people, and people were going on LinkedIn and Twitter saying, oh, Elon Musk has fired all of us because, we insisted that we wanted to work from home, etc. Normally, like CEOs who want to just maintain a kind of squeaky clean public image, they probably will come out to maybe, render an apology and say, oh, it wasn't like that. It's because, we're trying to, have a more efficient system, etc. But Elon Musk came out to say, I fired them, and so what? Pretty much, I'm in my house, come and beat me. And he was like, no, real work can never be done like fully remote. Come into the office. If you don't want to come into the office, you don't have a job. And he was just firing people. And people were on Twitter, like calling him out. And then he was on Twitter calling them out. So that's his personal brand voice. His personal brand voice is irreverent. Like he doesn't send, he doesn't care, right? Despite that, like I said, he may not be everybody's cup of tea, personal brand wise, but he has his audience that appreciates that, right? He has his audience that appreciates the brash honesty without sugarcoating, right? Whereas somebody like a Mark Zuckerberg, when people call him out, I remember when he was summoned by Congress and there were some parents saying that, their children were bullied, some were bullied to the point where, they were suicidal, etc. If it was Elon Musk would be like, so you, the parents, should do your job, right? Watch your children. I'm not responsible for them. That's probably what you would say. But Mark was actually like apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry. At Facebook, we strive to create a safe community for all, for all children. We have fallen short in this regard. And, for this reason, we are going to improve our processes, etc. Right? So do you see the difference between the brand voices? And they're both memorable in their own ways, right? For Elon, he doesn't send, we're like, okay, what is the next thing that's going to come out of his mouth? Wow, that's what makes it memorable. But for Mark, although his personal brand voice is a bit more humble, it still stands out because of our expectation that somebody who is a tech billionaire should be flashy, should be extravagant, but he's the total opposite, which ironically makes his brand stand out, right? Mark Zuckerberg was always wearing the same t-shirt for a while, or it appeared to be the same t-shirt, and people will criticize him and say, you have money, why are you just wearing the same, is it gray or black t-shirts the entire time? And he was like, well, he's too busy building a global community to worry about what he's wearing, right? So because his physical appearance and also his brand voice was the exact opposite of what people thought he would be, his personal brand actually like resonates well with his target audience, right? So crafting your brand voice is very, very important, right? Crafting your brand voice is very, very important. What is your tone of brand voice, right? That you want to project to the public, and how can that be memorable? In addition to that brand voice, crafting your brand voice also starts with your own story. What is your why, right? So what is your why? This will also be reflected in your brand story and the way you tell your story, right? So I'll give you an example. So one of my clients, one of my former clients, she started an autism center, an autism treatment center, autism therapy center, right? And what was her why for creating this? Her why was pretty much that, her daughter was diagnosed with autism, and at the time in Nigeria, there were no resources to understand autism. There were no specialists, there were no practices, nothing. And she noticed that one or two other friends of hers whose children had autism, they were also facing the same problem. So they would always have to fly in specialists from South Africa or the US, right? And it was not sustainable. So what she did was she had a very lucrative position in a very highly esteemed organization. And she actually quit her job to go back to school to get the knowledge needed to be an autism specialist. And now she has one of the #1 autism centers in the entire Nigeria. So that is now part of her brand voice, her why, right? Beyond revenue coming in by virtue of the fact that she runs this business, there is a story that is being told about her why she started, which further inspires public trust in her, right? So if you had a child with autism and you're trying to figure out, okay, which center should I take them to, right? When you hear her personal brand story, where, okay, this business actually started because of a need, her daughter, right? Wouldn't you automatically have more trust than other businesses being advertised without any brand story of the founder, like hypothetically? The obvious choice for most people would be, oh, okay, there are all these centers, maybe there are 20. Of all these 20 centers, this lady who is the founder of this autism center, it started with her personal sacrifice of giving up a very lucrative job in the oil and gas sector to go back to school to get the certifications to be an autism specialist. She even went and got a PhD. She's the only PhD holder in that field ever in Nigeria. So automatically that personal brand of, okay, this started from my home, that personal brand of, okay, not only did it start from my home, I actually have a PhD in this, which sets me apart from every other practitioner in Nigeria. These are unique selling points that help to set her apart from everybody else in her industry, right? So crafting that brand voice in a unique way, using your core values and your unique selling proposition are key to creating your brand voice, right? Very key to creating your brand voice and your brand image. So after you have created your brand voice and you have your strategy of how you want to position yourself, the next thing that you will need to ask yourself is, where is my target audience? And I know on this call, we have, for obvious reasons, we have dwelt more on, online presence, of course, because this is the age of social media. But your personal brand doesn't stop with how you show up online. It's also about your offline presence as well. So beginning with your online presence, yes. So where is your target audience, right? And how best can you reach them so that they can know about your personal brand, so you can pretty much influence their perception about who you are, right? So you have social media platforms, you have news media, you have blogs, but it's not just about being everywhere at the same time. It's about, of all these platforms, which are the ones that I should actually focus more on? And to decide that, you need to know where your target audience is. You cannot have your target audience on Instagram and then you're on LinkedIn, and you're putting more effort on LinkedIn than Instagram. Do you see what I mean? And also, as weird as this may sound, you don't have to be on Instagram, or it's not a must. If your target audience for who you want to influence is not there, then why are you there? I mean, you can be there maybe just for awareness, where maybe you're posting every couple of months so people know, okay, such a person or such a service exists. But you should actually be concentrating your efforts best where you know your target audience is online. As far as offline presence as well, it's not just social media, it's not just all of that. It's your internal and external stakeholder and client relations, right? So who are the people that matter most to move your business forward? Are you meeting with them? Are you creating events and avenues where you can meet with them? Or maybe not just meet with them, but where they can actually interact with you and your business and your service offerings? Okay, Malara, you have a question. All right, please go ahead.
Okay, you were talking about target markets, and I think that's something that I think I have a problem with, because I think over the last 15 years, things have kind of changed. So at one point in time, I would say, oh, my target market was on Facebook. Then after some time, it became, oh, it's on Instagram. So you know who your target market is, and does it change? Do you understand, with time? Meaning that could it be today it's on Instagram, tomorrow it's on TikTok, or does it stay regular?
Hi, Malara. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat your question?
Okay, I was saying that my question was about target markets. I said over the years, it's something, sometimes I even wonder where they are. Because at the beginning, I got a lot of customers from Facebook. Then some people say, oh, Instagram, they get on Instagram. Sometimes I don't think they are on Instagram. So I don't know. How do you know where your target market is?
Okay, this is a very, very great question. Thank you so much for asking that, right? So this is where I think I had mentioned, I don't know where I mentioned it, but I mentioned like monitoring your industry and consumer sentiment, because okay, I can't remember where it is, but because trends change, right? So it might be that, when you first started out the business, most of your clients were on Facebook, but it's now people now have changing tastes. So one of the ways to actually know where your target market is, right? one of the strategies is if you can even run some sort of like a survey, like an online survey, maybe even via Google Forms, right? And it's where you're asking questions like, okay, you know, what media platforms do you consume, right? Where are you? What are your where are you? Like, where are you most on social media? Maybe what media platforms do you read? Is it Bella Naija weddings? Is it this? Is it that? You know, also ask them some other pertinent questions about their media use. And how can you find these people? So first of all, you can survey your past clients, right? You can survey your current clients, right? Then you can also survey other people that are in your target audience that are not necessarily your current or past clients. So for instance, let's say weddings as an example now, right? You could, I mean, it would require a bit of a budget, but I imagine that you can actually even approach like a Bella Naija weddings and say, hey, I'm running a survey regarding media use and media consumption for brides. I'd like to run a survey. Can I promote the survey on your platform? Right? In addition to that, you can find like whether it's WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, sorry, even if it's Telegram groups, something like that, where there are, you know, that are related to weddings or brides or event management or whatever it is, and try to run surveys there as well. So to run these kinds of surveys, you actually need to put aside a budget for incentives because you need to incentivize people on taking this survey, right? So you could take online surveys. You could actually also do like phone surveys, right? For those clients you think wouldn't mind you, you know, calling them, right? And the point of all these surveys and research is pretty much market research, is knowing exactly where these people are now, understanding how they use media now, whether it's social media or other types of media. And in addition to that, just maybe relearning their preferences when it comes to choosing event vendors, right? So it might be that maybe hypothetically, you speak with them and you notice now that, oh, it's mostly word of mouth referrals that people capitalize on. So if you find that out hypothetically, you can then create some marketing strategies to now encourage referrals. Like, okay, if you come to me and I plan your event or your wedding, if you refer XYZ, you get X amount % discount on services. Kind of like a referral program, right? That's hypothetically if you find that out, or if you find out that people mostly now find vendors, you know, when people tag vendors on Instagram. So for instance, maybe Bella Naija weddings or an influencer or anybody else, you know, they always would tag event planner, this, that, right? So if you now find that, okay, this is where most people are finding event planners, event vendors as well, it's now to think about that and create a marketing strategy like, okay, how can I take advantage of these mentions, right? In what way can I piggyback off of these mentions, right? Or is it that people are getting more vendors based on influencer collaborations? You know, there are times when all of these celebrities or influencers, they will have like themed shoots, even if it's not their wedding, it's not their, you know, whatever. Like how are they doing that? Okay, so for themed shoots, can I partner with these people so that, you know, I can also get mentioned. Or you might find that, okay, it's mostly sponsored ads. How do you normally pick your event vendor, your wedding vendor? Maybe in your survey, people are saying, oh, it's through sponsored ads. Then you're now saying, okay, how can I do more sponsored ads to target these people? And in your survey, of course, you are capturing the age range, demographics, etc. Do you see what I mean? So I think in your case, it's now kind of going back to the drawing board and finding a way to run surveys and also speak with customers, both past and you know, present, and maybe others in your target audience you've not reached yet, and just asking them what their preferences are. I think that might be something to really, really consider, because you probably will gain new insights that way. And also, I was actually going to mention this. I think this is the next, is this the next slide? Okay, that's okay. This is a future slide, but let me just talk about it now, just in passing. So in personal branding, networking is a big part of it as well, right? So I imagine that there are a lot of event management conferences that happen throughout the year, whether locally or internationally. For the international ones, you can actually look on Eventbrite or 10 times events. They have some virtual attendance opportunities. Then for the physical ones that you can do in Nigeria, it's also to go to those weddings industry and events related industry events to kind of see, okay, what are the new trends? What are people talking about? Networking with fellow event planners, seeing, you know, what the trends are, even talking to them, you know, just branching outside of your immediate field of knowledge, right? You can run your surveys and, you know, go network at these events, hear what people are saying, what are the new trends, and what are some things you might be missing, right? And I believe you will get, you know, some insights. And another thing you could also do actually is even create like mini events of your own, right? I'm not sure if you've done that recently, like you call it events, something about a webinar or something, and have other event planners, you know, attend. And of course, you're going to be capturing their data during the course of inviting them to register for such a webinar. So you're building your own network indirectly as well. And you are chiming in, checking in from time to time, just, you know, networking, casual small talk, asking them, you know, how business is, you know, gaining from their own insights as well. You know, those are some of the things that you could do.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So the next section is leveraging social media. I think that we have spoken about that already, so I will not dwell too much on this page. So pretty much like I mentioned, making sure you know your target audience. And if you don't really know your target audience, you know, just like I mentioned to Molara, like you could also look into, you know, doing like some market research. You know, you could join some of the Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Instagram groups. You could actually even talk to people, network, find out what's going on in the industry that you are, find out where most people get their customers, clients from, and this will enable you to know which of the various social media platforms that you should be concentrating most of your efforts on, right? But if you already know, let's say for instance, you sell a product and you know that, of course, 80% of your orders are coming from Instagram, then of course that's a no-brainer. That is where you will consolidate most of your marketing efforts. So let's talk briefly about the power of publicity, right? So if you can see my screen, you can actually see like the difference between marketing, advertising, public relations, and branding. So I will say that all of these aspects of communications are needed for a business, but it's just that public relations is truly a magical part of all of these. And I'm not saying this just because I'm into public relations. It's true. So you see in marketing, there's a guy telling a lady, oh, I'm very smart. So it's like self-promotion, you know, and that is what we all do on our own platforms. On our LinkedIn, we're sharing our work experience. On Instagram, we're sharing knowledge or showing how fabulous we are. On Twitter, we're showing our intellect, our wit. It's marketing, but it's social media marketing, right? So advertising is just repeating that. Oh, I'm very smart. I'm very smart. I'm very cool. I'm very witty. My product is the best. So you are telling them, and this is where reputation building comes in. A lot of people are telling us stuff. They're telling us they have the best product. They have the best service. They are the best founder of the business. They are the best. It's okay if you tell me, but it's more powerful when you hear from a reputable third-party source. And this is where the art of public relations comes in, right? So imagine, let me use Molara as an example. Imagine, okay, Molara has her ads running, whether it's in newspapers, it's on TV, it's also on social media. And she's saying, oh, you know, affordable luxury, plan your event on a budget, etc. Of course, it will generate lots of attention, right? But if there are other companies with the same value proposition, it now becomes a lot like chatter because everybody is saying the same thing. So imagine that in addition to the marketing and advertising, the social media marketing Molara is doing, then the advertising, maybe billboards, maybe TV spots that she's doing. In addition to that, she also has public relations. And let's say as part of public relations, she gets featured on CNN Inside Africa. And CNN is now telling you, wow, Molara is one of the best in Africa. She provides affordable luxury. And in addition to that, she is also an advocate for marriages and brides because she has a book out that gives advice about what to do before I say I do, right? So this adds credibility because it's not Molara still telling me she's the best. It is a credible media authority saying, look, trust me, Molara is the best. And CNN with its brand name, if your brand is featured there, it's not you telling people, it's CNN telling people, hey, like you need to patronize her. So do you see why public relations is important? In addition to your marketing and advertising and all of that, public relations is so important because it is reputation building and reputation management from a credible, authoritative third-party source, right? And then of course, branding goes, oh, I understand you're very smart. So the only time you can actually say, oh, you're actually a brand is if you happen to be listening in a room or wherever you're not, and people are saying things about you. So there's a saying that goes that, you know, your brand is what people say about you when you're not there. And it's so true, right? Through marketing, you've told them your values and what you can do. Public relations has told them. When you've not arrived as a brand, is now okay. People understand, even without you telling them how important you are, how impactful your products and services are. You know, they understand the brand promise. They understand the reputation that you are trying to build. So this is where you can officially say, oh, I'm a brand, right? So that's pretty much the importance of PR and branding, in addition to your marketing and advertising efforts. PR and branding actually help to, solidify that credibility that you are trying to build. So yeah, just reiterating that, there's nothing as powerful and as authoritative as, third-party platforms actually talking about you. And I would say in modern times, like in addition to PR, testimonials are really, really important as well. So that is your clients, giving testimonies about your services, saying, it's good, it's this, but then it's still not as powerful as PR, so that is something to consider. All right, so I already touched on this a little bit when responding to Molara's questions. So I understand we're all online now, but let us not forget about networking and relationships offline as a way to build our personal brand and by default, our business brands, right? I was reading an article in The Economist the other day, and there's a guy who's an expert on, trends, like looking at trends and forecasting, the future in the digital economy and markets and all of that. And one thing he said that struck me is very soon, we are now going to be leaning more into a time and era where people are valuing offline interactions more than online interactions, because the online marketplace is becoming too crowded, especially social media. So there is a gradual trend that is now inching towards people valuing offline networking over social media networking. And in fact, he predicted that within the next 5 years, we're going to see a decline in the impact of social media, and normal face-to-face interactions and relationship building are going to start taking precedence again. Well, I don't know whether or not he's right, but it's a forecast to actually also keep in mind, to say, yes, while we're building our personal brand online, let us not neglect or forget networking and relationships as ways to amplify our personal brands, right? So of course, the power of networking cannot be overemphasized. Building meaningful connections, go to your, like I mentioned to Molara, what's happening in your industry, even outside of your industry, right? Go for events, go for conferences, go out, go and network. In addition to the social networking you're doing, go outside. Go and network. And this is a note for everyone, including myself, right? Even I, recently, I know maybe one or two of my colleagues are on this call. I had to tell them, hey, yes, we're doing the marketing and all that, but we need an event calendar, right? We need a calendar of events where we can be going out to network, right? Let's network with people. Let's find out what's happening in marketing, communications, and even outside of that. The other day, I went for a food exhibition event at Landmark. I'm not in the food industry, but I made it a point of duty to challenge myself this year, saying, look, I have to go network, because you never know where your next client will be. You never know where your next collaborator will be. So networking is very important, in-person networking. And also, of course, building authentic relationships, right? This is also part of personal branding, right? When you're maintaining your professional networks, when you're networking, it's not only about, oh, what can this person do for me, right? You can collaborate with people, add value, check in on them, not only when you need something, right? So we have to be quite intentional about networking because it's also a way of building your personal brand. So imagine, you know, you network at an event, and probably at the next event when you're not in the room, you know, the person might remember, oh, I know so and so that is an interior designer, you know, and they need an interior designer in this place. Let me call them, right? So you've now gained a collaborator and a client offline, right? So in building our personal brands, we have to be super intentional about that, right? So managing your brand is also very important. So when you're in the process of building your personal brand, and let's say you've actually reached a considerable level, now it's time to just monitor your brand reputation. You can sign up for Google Alerts, where you can have Google alert you every time your name is mentioned or your business is mentioned. And also continuous rebranding, right? I mentioned about studying forecasts in your industry, studying trends, and just evolving, right? Not staying stuck. That is a good way to manage your brand. So like Malara mentioned, most of her clients used to be on Facebook, but now that has changed. So she can't stay stuck there and keep running ads on Facebook and saying, oh, where are the customers? No, it's now saying, okay, Facebook is no longer working, maybe due to technology changes or something. It's not working anymore. What's happening in my market, and how can I evolve to meet the needs of my customers, right? That's what that is about. So regarding case studies, I think I have made reference to these in passing before. So I mentioned Apple, and when Apple first blew, in quotes, we all remember Steve Jobs, may his soul rest in peace. But Steve Jobs' personality was actually a major driving force in building Apple's brand, right? Everyone knew he was tech savvy, he was intelligent, he was innovative, and people would literally be lining up for miles outside of conference venues where he was going to speak, right? Because they're like, okay, this Steve Jobs, he's a visionary, I want to learn from him, etc. And so he built a loyal fan base that he was able to always tap into, right? To actually advance the Apple brand, right? And it can be argued that his influence as a personal brand actually impacted sales of Apple's products very positively, right? So you cannot talk about Steve Jobs without talking about Apple, and vice versa, right? Obviously, there's a new CEO now that he's no longer, on earth, but I mean, I think the new CEO, is it Tim Cook or something? I can't remember. But everybody will always remember Steve Jobs. They might not even remember Tim Cook or whoever the CEO is now. I don't think he has a personal brand as strong as Steve Jobs' personal brand. But anyway, Steve Jobs' personal brand and the Apple brand all dealt with innovation, advancement, being at the forefront of, expertise, etc. So his brand and the Apple brand were a perfect fit for one another. And I don't know if you guys have heard about Jack Ma, right? He's the CEO and founder of Alibaba. I think arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, e-commerce establishments in the entire world, right? And if you study about Jack Ma, one thing you will notice is that his networking game is unparalleled. Like he's like the king of of networking, right? He's a big believer that your network is your net worth. You know, growing up, Jack Ma it's not like he was the most brilliant person in school or whatever, but what he always had was like a personal network, right? And this extensive network that he started building even before he became super successful. In fact, this network had a predominant hand in his success, right? Because he always knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who would always help facilitate partnerships and help to, expand, the business, etc. Right? So networking and because he was known as a very smart guy with ideas for business, that also became a part of his personal brand. So when his network would be in rooms where he wasn't present, and things were mentioned about partnerships, business, everybody's mind would go to Jack Ma. Oh, Jack Ma is quite bright. He has these business ideas. Let me link you guys together, right? So that's that. All right, so now it's discussion and question time. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have about any of the ideas or principles that we have just discussed. So the idea of personal branding is quite vast, right? And personal branding for business success entails all the steps I mentioned and also building a deliberate strategy, right? I always tell people that personal branding is not a destination, it is a journey. There will be various parts of the journey as you go along, and it's not a marathon, it's a sprint, right? Your personal branding will grow over time. Your business branding will grow over time, but they need to walk hand in hand, right? And that takes a lot of intentionality, and it also takes a lot of patience, knowing that, Rome was not built in a day. It also takes a lot of trial and error, right? Nobody ever gets it right the first time. People don't normally get it right. So I would say there is no such thing as perfect, right? You just have to show up and, keep giving it your best. It helps when you have someone to, guide you along that process, whether it's a PR consultant like myself or any other person that you can trust that is knowledgeable enough to guide on the journey. So yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to take that first step, and really, start the process if you haven't already done so. All right, so I'll take any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you so much, Morenike. This has been so, so powerful. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, Wadibo, go ahead.
Wow. I mean, I've been here. I'm just listening, taking it all in. Wow. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Okay. So the reason why I came in, on this course major was this personal branding of a thing. Um, I would say I've had a bit of success in building brands, but one of the challenges that I've faced over time, face of the brand, that is personal branding. I remember when my first company, BZL Crew, subsidiary of House of Bezalel, when we started operations around 2016, 2017, we actually popularized mural art in Nigeria because I'm an artist by training, a visual artist. So we did a couple of notable projects then in Lagos under Governor Hambode. public spaces. A lot of people get to see our work, but they don't know the person behind the work. So a couple of close friends who were close to me at that point, they were like, "Gee, we are seeing your work, to the extent that some media houses, uh, they featured our work actually, but because we didn't tell the story, they didn't know who was behind the work. So all what they did was feature the work and just talk about it like a random piece. So learning a little bit from there, then starting Concurry like 3 years ago, I I had the same challenge, with building the brand, but just until recently, maybe like last week or 2 weeks ago, I'm trying to put my face out there. So this is where I'm going. As a creative person, as an artist, I find out that I like to spend most of my time creating. I just like to I'm so obsessed with creating and making it very well in the workshop, perfecting the piece and letting the piece make the statement itself. But I've kind of suffered a lot of, you know, I've seen some kind of challenges in the sense that um, people want to know who is behind the work or what is the story per se. And then, I've gone to many master classes, tell your story. Like, I was at Storytelling by Adora. I don't know if you know her. She's a very popular person too in PR space. So a lot of stuff like this. But making that transition from being a creative person who likes his or her space to just create. Currently now, I'm in Ogbomoso, 4 hours drive from Lagos. I just like it. I kind of like this isolated life where I just like to just create in silence without being disturbed. But you are very right. I've seen without any doubt that, okay, see, personal brand is very, very, very important to your brand success or your business success. So, from all of the things you've said now, I would like to ask that how would you advise, now you knowing what I've said now, my story, how would you advise that I personally make that transition, that it will be smooth or so? Because now me, I'm not I don't like to talk too much. If you look at my personal page, I don't care if 10 people like it, if 20 people, I just post just so, but I know that you have to build community, share knowledge, and sometimes I'm scared that that can be very draining. I'm kind of in between. I'm like, okay, God, how do I do this? And I'm like, okay, I have to share that knowledge, build a community, feedbacks and all of those things, go out more often. So how would you advise that as with this challenge that I am currently, that I make that smooth transition into building my personal brand? I hope you get my question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Badebo. So, like I mentioned earlier, it's all about intentionality, like building a strategy and plan that you can follow, right? And that is something that we can actually help you with at my company. So it's going to be very hard to try to transition into building your personal brand if you don't have a plan or strategy. So when you have a plan and you have a strategy, it's easy to plan ahead so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming. Like the example I gave, let's say you want to do some videos that illustrate your artistry. Maybe you're recording in bulk, or let's say you want a more intimate yet public way to interact with your target audience and get news reported about it. You can look into things like, maybe doing some art shows, because you have a very niche audience. It's not everybody that will be interested in the kind of art that you produce. So it's saying, okay, who is my target audience? What can I do for them in an intimate space? And how can I amplify what I'm doing so that my personal brand is still out there without being overwhelmed by too much crowd? So let's say you're having an artist showcase where you're showcasing your work, and then you're inviting press. So you're like killing two birds with one stone, because your personal brand will be out there as the person behind the work, but then the press has helped amplify all that for you without you having to do so much. There's so many strategies that you could employ, but first and foremost is having that plan, having that strategy, that roadmap. So when you have that roadmap, it's easier now to delegate because you don't have to do everything yourself, right? So let's say you have to create content. Okay, you're delegating who is creating the content for me or alongside me, or I have an event that I want to do for my stakeholders. Who's planning the event for me? And so it's all about strategy, plan, intentionality, and delegation. And we can help you with that. We can help you with that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I will reach out to you after the call, after this class.
Awesome. Sounds great. Sounds great. Oh, Ife, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Is it okay for me to respond to Gbadebo?
Of course, please. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so hi, Gbadebo. I don't know your art, but I suggest that you go to TikTok. If you don't have a TikTok account, or if you have one and you simply just don't use it, I think you should 30 minutes to TikTok every day for like a month. I mean, by the time you're opening the account, probably the kinds of interests you chose will probably make them push fellow artists to you. So you can see what artists like you are doing all over the world. I've stumbled on a number of videos by artists, and considering the fact that you don't seem to want to put your face or your voice out there, there's still a way around it. So what I see artists do a lot is actually just show the process of the interesting part of their process. I know there's the part that is not like glamorous. So the glamorous part of their process, maybe even remember if you decide that, but the glamorous part of their process, and then show us the end result. And sometimes we don't see their faces. You could just see an artist's hand and then maybe the pen or whatever it is that the person is using to make the art. And people still engage with it. Also, I've seen artists actually go live, and you'll be wondering, they don't put their face. So why are they going live? So it was interesting to me also. So what the artist then tells people to do is tell me your name. So people would type in their names, and the person will make something very lovely with the name of that person. So trust me, people die there. They are going to write and trust Nigerians now, they write the most, interesting looking names and expect that this person should do something beautiful with it. And the live video just goes on like that. So there's engagement. They don't know the person's face. They don't care. But because of their personal vanity, which I think everybody has a bit of, they're going to get stuck there until their name is written. So I think you should consider, Instagram is a good place too, but for what you want to do, not showing your face, I think you should consider TikTok. So that's my suggestion.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ife.
I love that. That's very innovative. Very, very.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ife.
Awesome. Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions? Or you need to...
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atenyala Esther, and I'm still a student. I'm actually a fifth-year medical student, and I came across the poster for this session on an acquaintance's WhatsApp timeline, and I don't know, for some reason, I just decided that I should just really see if there could be anything new that I could learn about personal branding and how it could just apply in my life. So I'm actually interested in initiatives that promote people's access to healthcare. I'm interested in advocacy. And when I planned, to join this session, I expected, or I didn't really think that there would really be a place for my field. So I was happy when you talked about working with non-governmental organizations, and I'm just really thinking, or my question really is just about asking how, with your experience with working in non-governmental organizations, how I can actually build my brand in that line. Like, what would you advise for me to do? Because working in a non-governmental organization, like, I understand creating content to be able to promote causes on health access and health equity, but like I've never really considered the aspect of personal branding. So I'll just like to know if, based on your experience, there's really any advice you can give to me going forward that is tailored to my field, considering tailored to working in a non-governmental organization. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. So I will answer your question based on a client that we have worked with on and off for the past 5 years. And that client is Shebekli Cancer Care. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they are an NGO in Nigeria. And
Yeah,
what
Jewel.
it's
Oh, the daddy money.
Hello? Oh, I thought somebody was trying.
Ma, please, can you repeat the name?
So it's Shebekli. So I'm going to drop it in the chat. So it's
Thank you.
yes, Sebeccly. So Shebekli Cancer Care. So they are an NGO, and what they do is they raise funds for less privileged women in Nigeria that can't afford, who have cancer, that can't afford cancer treatment, right? In addition to that, they're also into lots of advocacy, advocating for early diagnosis through screening. They have a screening program, and they also go to local communities to screen people, right? And the founder of the organization, she is quite influential. She's an oncologist. She's a cancer doctor. In fact, she's one of only 95 cancer doctors in the entire Nigeria. So Nigeria is how many millions of people? And there are only 90 cancer doctors. And of those 90, there might be something like just 5 female oncologists, cancer doctors. Anyway, so she's the founder of that organization. And one thing I noticed while we worked with her is the organization had a lot of medical students, a lot of, medical students or people who just left medical school who were passionate about, giving back through their fields. And a lot of them started as volunteers, volunteering to be part of the screening team, volunteering to do, just very light medical related tasks at Shebekli. And it was a way for them to actually boost their personal brand, right? And the founder is actually quite progressive. She's also the founder of OncoPaddy, that's Africa's first digital cancer clinic. And one of the doctors that was working with her at Shebekli, became the CEO and co-founder of that app. And that also helped to boost her personal brand. So in a nutshell, I would advise, even if it's not Shebekli, but finding a renowned medical related organization, like medical related NGO, maybe starting off as a volunteer as a way to build your personal brand, and seeing how best to have impact in those roles and also simultaneously build your personal brand as well. So that's one advice I would give that I think works.
All right, thank you, Ma.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Please, I still have an extra question.
Okay, what's your question?
Yes, I've definitely actually I'm part of I'm currently in an internship where I'm meant to learn more and develop my skills on advocacy and communications. But outside just finding roles in this kind of organizations, like maybe online, is there any way I can personally any specific advice on how I can personally represent my brand? Yes, my personal brand.
Okay. So you can pretty much follow the directions that I had raised. So I think most importantly is finding out or really doing that self-reflection to know like what your specific values are and what kind of impact you want to bring into the world and what you want to be known for. So you're in medicine. So I know there are different fields of medicine. You have pediatrician medicine, you have oncology, you have general practice, you have physiotherapy, you have all kinds of fields. I'm not sure which specialization that you're in, but it's actually to really sit down and say, okay, this is my specialization and this is what I want to be known for. So I'll give you a relatable example. So we all know Aproko Doctor, and he is one of the visionaries and one of the first medical practitioners to actually make medical facts like interesting through smart content creation on social media, right? So he found a niche there and he had first movers advantage. Now, if you're thinking of medical influencers with strong personal brands, he comes to mind. There are other people, but Aproko Doctor is like the lead. So that's his niche. He has the humor. He's always talking about, is he Emeka and Nkechi or whatever? He's built that niche and he's being influential and impactful and amplifying his personal brand that way. So it's now for you to do this self-reflection and say, okay, who am I? What kind of impact do I want to have? And what field do I want to focus on as far as reputation building? And then when you establish that, then planning on how to go about it comes first. But you first need to actually define that brand voice. What is your story, right? What kind of emotional storytelling are you engaging in? What is your why? What is going to make you stand out? So that is the first step. And then once that is established, then everything else can follow.
Thank you, Ma, for your advice. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No worries. So we have a question from Henshaw Jacobson. Yes, so you can go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, you're actually.
Thank you so much for this. I have the best because can you hear me now?
Yes, much better. Yes. What did you say?
I said thank you so much for this. The price we paid for is way too low compared to what we are getting, and I celebrate you for doing this for people like us. I truly appreciate this. Yeah. So my question, you talk about voice and you mentioned Elon Musk and other people, but where I have concern is about culture. Nigeria is a country where they drag people a whole lot, even though I'm not really worried about that. I'm saying this because I have strong opinion when it comes to social media. I like to say things the way I feel and the way I believe. And I know sometimes it can turn to something else. So I'm asking, what's the place of culture and when you know that okay, this is your brand voice, and this is your values, and this is what you believe in. And then sometimes you say those things, and other people don't believe in what you believe in, and then start dragging you, and then the whole fight and the whole social media training. So where do you strike a balance where you not okay, you don't go against culture, and even though this is what you believe in? So that's my concern and my question.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Henshaw, for that question. So I want to ask, what industry are you in?
Oh, okay. So I'm in media. So for over 5 years now, I built a brand as a digital marketer, and we moved to also launch a brand, a company that can do that, because most of the project that we handle comes from me personally. And then that has led us to also launching a blog. So we have a news and lifestyle blog, Naira Diary. We've been running since 2021, and we are, to a large extent, we are doing well. We have hundreds of followers, especially on Facebook. And then we also have a Christian blog, believerswatch.com. So we create content and we tell stories through this platform. But on my personal brand, I like to share my personal views, my personal thought. I like to share things that are personal to me. So for example, I could decide, okay, something is trending, I try to speak on it. I could decide to say what I believe in. And so, but then again, I feel like I don't want to hurt a lot of people. For sometimes, for example, I have friends who are pro-LGBT, and then I have people who are not Christians, and then they are following me and they are close to me. So most times I'm like, okay, I want to say this. I'm like, what? I remember I have XYZ number of people, and I don't just want to get drunk and all of that. So my personal brand is just about me, my personal stories and all of those things. I don't take that to other things that I do. So that's it basically.
Okay, okay, got it, got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, I'm glad that you actually referenced the Elon Musk example that I made. So one thing with personal branding, when you're trying to express that on social media is, although of course it's okay to share your thoughts, you know, but there has to be a strategy to it, right? So in Elon Musk's case, you'll notice that everything, like all the comments or most of the comments that he makes that are a bit controversial have to do with his business or have to do with technology, right? So his rants and the way he expresses himself are most times tied to either his businesses or his niche, which is technology, right? So even when he's saying things that are not very popular or things that they drag him for, it's always related to technology or his businesses, right? Which is why, you know, will I say, which is why things that he says, after a while, people forgive him, right? So when, I'll give you an example. So when Twitter was laying off people and they were coming for him on Twitter and he was tweeting and saying, you cannot be at home working, you know, a lot of people dragged him for it. And he was saying, you cannot be at home working, that's lazy, you need to come into the office, and saying that, you know, Twitter is unprofitable and he's bought it, he's the owner now, so he's going to make it profitable. So there was a reason why he was ranting. So the reason was because ultimately he's bought a business and he doesn't want the business to be a liability. He needs to make sales. So that was the, will I say, central point of what he was saying, right? Although people dragged him, I would say that because he was speaking truth, after a while, people forgave him, because the truth is that because of all the people that were laid off, Twitter is now like more profitable than it was like a few months ago, right? Because of the controversial selling of verification badges that Elon Musk implemented, there's more revenue generation for Twitter. He was dragged, but in the end, he was right. Do you see what I mean? So I give these examples to give a context and say, when building your personal brand online, and if you have controversial opinions, they should be, although they're controversial, they should be rooted in truth, and they should be rooted in a particular goal that you're trying to accomplish. It shouldn't just be like random rants for no reason. And I would advise that if you're building your personal brand, and of course you're doing digital marketing, you have the online businesses and initiatives, it's always good to think bigger beyond where you are now, right? As a business owner, it's always good to kind of, will I say, not being politically correct, not censorship in that sense, but it's also good, it's always good to look at the bigger picture. So for Elon Musk, he's ranting, he's doing all those things, being a bit brash because he's so passionate about technology, and he's so passionate about surpassing boundaries. Like, he believes that everybody should live on Mars, like it's possible. To the normal person, it might be like, this doesn't make sense. But he's like, no, like with technology, all things are possible. With science, like he's this person that he doesn't want any stumbling blocks or limitations in his way, right? So that is his overall intention. So I say that to say his erratic attitude, there is like a point to it. So that is how, even if your personal brand is a bit controversial, like it needs to be structured around your business in some way, or even if it's not around your business, but around your sector. It shouldn't just be ranting for no reason. It should be, it should be based on kind of like your views or your values about the industry that you're in. So that at the end of the day, even if they drag you or whatever, like, in your heart, like, okay, I'm saying all these things, I have all these opinions because of my values, because of my belief within this ecosystem that I'm in. There will always be a point. So not just dragging people randomly just because, that's life. Like, some people will be LGBTQ, some people will be Christian, some people will be Muslim, some people will be, radical, some people will be liberal. That's just life. But as an entrepreneur and a business owner or a career person, I believe that we have this responsibility to show up in the most, will I say, most diplomatic way possible when we're online, because the truth is that you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, right? For instance, an international company may call you and say, hey, we want to partner with your company to penetrate Africa. But then they go online and see viewpoints that are controversial for no reason. Do you see what I mean? So I don't know if that answers your question. But in a nutshell, there should be a value that you are pushing for when you're being controversial.
Yeah, I agree with you. After person per se, but there are some things I just see. I feel like what, for example, let's talk about like the obedient thing and all of that. For example, I voted Obi, I supported Obi, but then again, I don't also like the fact that people are now fighting people because they are not supporting a particular candidate. So for someone like me,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think your internet is cutting out. I can't hear you anymore.
Committing any crime. But when you say that, most of the time, you see people, for example, coming back to say, I thought you had sense. Yeah, so you're not supporting these people. Those kind of things, that's what I mean. Not like being controversial, but there's something I just say, like, for example, this one I just made, and I feel like, this shouldn't be. People should be allowed to express themselves. So something like that is what I mean. Or are we saying now, okay, because of businesses, because we don't want to get involved with any fight, we don't want anything like that, we should just stay clear? and focus on things that has to do with our industry and our business.
Yes, that's my advice, to reduce wahala.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we are out of time now. But if you have other questions, you can feel free to drop me a line. So this is my email address, Instagram handle, and phone number. And I believe that most of you guys should have this info anyway. But yeah, if there are any additional questions, feel free to reach out. Yeah, and then we can stay in touch. I know there's supposed to be a central WhatsApp group, but I know when we contacted some of you, you guys were like, oh, you get too many messages, no need for WhatsApp. But we might need to revisit some other sort of platform or arrangement where, we're still checking in with one another, because I don't want this to just be, oh, we've done a masterclass, that's all. I would like some sort of like a community where, we're all checking in on one another regarding all of these goals. We can be one another's accountability partners, so that what we've learned doesn't just end here. At least there's some sort of community where, as we are on the personal branding journey, we can all share notes, exchange notes, share any advice that any of us may have for one another. And we can really just, make the most use of these connections that we've made here today. Right? So I believe we have everybody's email addresses, and my colleague will be in touch if we don't have your contact information. Precious, I believe she's on this call. She will be in touch to get all the needed info, so that, we can keep in touch with you. You can keep in touch with us, so that, for any further programs, you can be well informed. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy your long holiday, and so grateful that you made out time to be a part of this master class. And enjoy the weekend, and definitely I'll be in touch with every one of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.